I now kindly request all members of the Corps Diplomatique to leave the theatre and join the student ambassador and national flag of the country they represent. Can all members of the Corps Diplomatique representing countries A to K, that is Afghanistan, through and including Kyrgyzstan, please leave through the left-hand side. Can all members of the Corps Diplomatique representing countries L to Z, that is Laos, through and including Zimbabwe, please leave through the right-hand side. As A to K, that is Afghanistan, through and including Kyrgyzstan, please leave through the left-hand side.
Guests, Honourable MUN Directors, fellow student officers, and dear delegates, I am thrilled to stand in front of you as the Secretary General and welcome you to the 47th Annual Session of the Hague International Model United Nations. This year not only marks the end of the Millennium Development Goals, but celebrates the 70th anniversary of the United Nations. Since its foundation in 1945 in San Francisco, the UN has aimed to uphold peace between nations and maintain global security. While some say this is an impossible task, I say it is one towards which we must strive and dedicate our time and effort to. Were nobody attempting to uphold these values, we would live in a much more difficult and dangerous world. The UN has taken upon itself to bring peace, stability, and prosperity to the world, from establishing the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948 to implementing the Millennium Development Goals in the year 2000. The UN has been working endlessly towards an improved future. During the Cold War, there was very little stability and international cooperation. The UN thus began to focus on the development and supporting the new independent nations. In 1961, the General Assembly created a special committee on decolonization, which brought freedom and independence to over 700 million people, by providing means of negotiation and assistance to non-self-governing territories. Later, in 1964, thanks to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, LEDCs took part in trade and further developed their economies without involvement in the Cold War. In the 1970s, the UN began to place emphasis on the necessity for sustainable development and growth to leave a better future for our planet and our children. It organized the first environmental conference, which has led to today's United Nations Environmental Programme. It was in 1989, as the Cold War was drawing to a close, that countries truly came together. When differences were put aside, in 1991, US President George Bush talked about a new world order. In the 1990s, the UN was empowered and engaged in more peacekeeping missions than it had in the entirety of its history. While some missions were more successful than others, the UN is still in its early stages of peacekeeping, and we have all learned many lessons from their efforts. It has opened our eyes to the issues we face. We need to support each other, but more importantly, we need to support peace and global cooperation. Naturally, the Millennium Development Goals followed. At the turn of the 21st century, all 189 members, along with multiple NGOs, agreed to implement and strive to achieve these objectives, as to revolutionize the standard of living and quality of life globally. These goals focus on improving our future by setting out 8 objectives in line with the UN's goals on sustainable development and equality. The deadline was set to be 2015, and here we are. The time for us to work towards these goals has passed, but this does not mean we stop now and abandon those in areas in which the goals have not yet been completed. It is a time of reflection, a time of celebration, but also a time of perseverance. We have come a long way since the beginning of the millennium. There has been varied development and some outstanding achievements which may not have occurred without this initiative. World poverty has been reduced by half. Over 2.3 billion more people now have access to clean drinking water, and disparity between girls and boys in primary education has been eliminated in all developing countries. These achievements are huge and have helped improve billions of lives, not just in the immediate future, but long-term progress that will carry through to the next generation, opening new doors to a much larger audience than we can already see benefiting from them today. We must remember that even though these goals have been met, there are more, which are so close and we cannot give up now. 90% of all children attend primary education. We need to continue and push that up to 100. We must continue working towards these goals. Hunger, for example, has dropped significantly, but there is still more to do. For how can we expect nations to flourish and develop when its people are deprived of a basic need? It is our duty and obligation to do more. Even with our limited achievements, we have made massive progress. The MDGs have changed lives, saved lives, and will continue to improve lives. We will never all agree on what the most important issue is, as each country has its own challenges to face. We can, however, all agree that improving quality of life is a worthy goal, not just for individuals, but for whole nations. The UN helps by providing data as well as aid for nations to focus on their difficulties and overcome them. Now it is the time to reevaluate the situation with which each of our nations is faced and to look to the future. We have come so far, but at the same time, we have much more potential. This is why the UN has decided to extend the goals, to continue fighting for equality, peace, and a better life. It would be insane to give up now, to halt in the middle of such progress. The post-2015 agenda is a natural continuation of these goals, and now that they have acquired momentum, I foresee them developing rapidly. Soon, with perseverance, these issues will be greatly alleviated. I hope that a new generation of global leaders, some of whom are likely here today, will be inspired by the successes of those who have led the world through the first 15 years of the millennium. This conference is our chance to contribute to our own future. This is our chance to make a difference, to face the problems of our future and to solve them realistically. This week is about all issues with which we are faced today, from breaches in freedom of speech to wars and violence causing millions of people to flee their country. Last year was a busy year, and this one will not be easy either, but we can only learn from our mistakes and look to the future. For those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. This week will show how hard work and perseverance pays off. The right attitude and mindset, along with the clever minds you all possess, is surely reason to hope for a better future. Here at THIMUN, we learn to cooperate and compromise even with those who do not share our opinions and values. Finding solutions to multilateral issues is tough, even more so when these issues are disputed and so far unsolved by politicians themselves. Here at THIMUN, we have the opportunity to take a different approach, to step into the shoes of those nations we represent and to solve key issues from their perspectives. For this reason, THIMUN is so important. It challenges us to think differently, to understand and rationalize motives and actions from a different point of view. It teaches us to be intellectual and compassionate people who will in turn change the world for the better. We are the politicians and lawmakers of tomorrow. Take your role seriously. It is one of great prestige and limitless value. You have the power to influence the world. You must simply be brave enough to seize it. I have absolute faith in each and every one of you. Work hard, and with great dedication and passion, you shall succeed. Make us proud. Make your MUN directors proud. But most importantly, make yourselves proud. Thank you very much.
to the student ambassadors representing their country during THIMUN 2015. Your Excellencies, please hand over your flags. And thank you, of course, to the VSN Swing Band. It is now my great honour to announce the 47th session of the Hague International Model United Nations officially open.